Again, in Revelation chapter 18, we'll talk a little bit more about the rich men of the earth. In verse 11, it says, "The earth's businessmen will weep and grieve over the fall of Babylon," is the chapter's telling, because no one buys their freight anymore, right? And see, the word there, the earth's businessmen, the word in the King James is merchants, the merchants of the earth. And what it means is traffickers. That's what the definition, the Greek definition of merchants is. They're traffickers, okay? Keep that in mind as we move along here. Their merchandises of gold, silver, precious stones, pearls, fine linen, purple silk, scarlet, all kinds of scented woods, all sorts of articles of ivory, all varieties of costly woods, bronze, iron, marble, cinnamon, spices, perfume, frankincense, wine, and olive oil. You get the picture, right? Cattle and sheep, horses, and conveyances, right? In a place, I think in Isaiah, it says, there's no end to their chariots. Have you noticed the highways out there? Anyway, all kinds of conveyances and of slaves and the souls of men. Okay, you think about this. They're merchants, traffickers in the slaves and souls of men. Not only all the consumer-driven society in America, all the merchandise, but also the slaves and souls of men. You know, there's lots of kinds of traffic, like drug trafficking, trafficking in slavery of women and children, and probably even men and boys, and traffickers in pornography, right? These are traffickers of even the slaves and souls of men. And he goes on to say in verse 15, "The dealers who handled these articles, who grew wealthy through their business with her, will stand a long way off in the terror of her doom and torment, weeping and grieving aloud. Alas, alas, for the great city that was robed in fine linen, and purple and scarlet, and bedecked in glittering gold and precious stones," right? Because in one single hour, all the vast wealth had been destroyed. All the ships' captains and pilots, navigators, and all who live by seafaring, the crews and all who ply their trade on the sea, stood a long way off and exclaimed as they watched the smoke of her burning, "What city can be compared to the great city?" Right? Woe to the great city where all the ships on the sea grew rich. Who had ships on the sea grew rich from her vast wealth. In one single hour, she's become a desert. Well, look at the current events today. You have ships all around the United States, all around South America at these ports, and they're just sitting outside these ports with these containers. I think there was upwards of 2 million containers, not ships, but containers on the ships that are waiting to be offloaded. All this merchandise from all these countries, China and Vietnam, and just places all over the world, right? Taiwan and Japan and what have you. And so through this whole event we've been through in the last couple of years, they're talking about a great reset. And now you have all these ships just sitting out there with all this merchandise, and it cut the supply chain. And what I'm telling you is that what you're seeing there is not that. It's the precursor to that. It's set up for that. It's just the beginning of what's coming, that God is going to judge it. And he goes on down there and he says, "Rejoice over her, O heaven and saints, because God has executed vengeance for you upon her." Then a single powerful angel took up a boulder like a great millstone and flung it into the sea, crying, "With such violence shall Babylon the Great city be hurled down to destruction and shall never again be found. Okay, well, you know, in Mark chapter 9, Jesus talked about a great millstone. And in verse 42, Jesus said, "Whoever causes one of these little ones to stumble in sin, it would be better for him if a great millstone were hung about his neck and he were thrown into the sea." Well, I think you can't pass up seeing the similarity there. It's telling you that in Babylon, in the last days, there is child trafficking. Okay? And he's saying a great millstone. Okay? It's telling you there's child trafficking. There is a pedophilia that's off the charts in the last days. And we shouldn't miss these clues that's describing what's going on with the traffickers of the earth in the last days.